Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon on this November 5th, 2024, Election Day. Um, Pray that all is well on this rainy Tuesday. I know it's clearing up here at my house. I'm not sure if it's clearing up anywhere else, but it's looked like it wants to clear up. But it's been raining most of the day, but it's still a good day. It's still a great day. Pray that everybody has been out to vote already. If you haven't, you still have time before the polls close at 7 o'clock tonight here in South Carolina. So pray you exercise your right to vote. And we pray much, much, much for our nation as we are on the bark of electing a new leader for the United States of America. Pray much along with me as we do that. We pray that everything will be peaceful and well in the way God would have it to be. Now, on this Tuesday Talk with T section today, we're going to talk about how to deal with loss of independence. We have discussed, we've dealt with the process of grief, we dealt with the sickness such as cancer, hey baby, we've dealt with financial strain, and now we're going to tackle loss of independence. That's going to be our topic today. This is the series that I started with the process. It's your process that you're going through, but you're not alone. And so our last part of this series is about loss of independence. Um, and it may affect us, some of us, as we get older, or it may affect some of us if we get ill and we're unable to care for ourselves. So we're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about it. Always give you an encouraging word. Always want you to have an encouraging word for the week. And this week's word is coming out of Isaiah chapter 41 verse 10. Isaiah chapter 41 verse 10 says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." That's Isaiah 41 and 10. Hey, Robin, glad you could join us. Isaiah 41 and 10 says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Read Isaiah 41 in your leisure. Uh, we always encourage everyone to read the word so you will be strengthened by what God is teaching us, especially during these times. Once again, we're going to finish up our series on is your process that you're going through, but you're not alone. And we're going to finish it up with loss of independence. And different experiences, different circumstances will affect people in different ways. You know, when we talk about the loss of independence, we talk about how most of us may have to, hey Tom, most of us may have to deal with this in the way of as we age, as we get older, or we become ill and we're unable to care for ourselves and we really become dependent on someone else. Hey, Ann. Hey, girls, good to have you back to join us. Um, but so loss of independence will affect people, different experiences, and different circumstances, and in different ways. But some will be able to accept major life changes with grace and humor, while others may get depressed or anger or bitter. Hey, Ashley. Um, and it all depends on what kind of independence loss is going on. So once again, like I say, some it may affect us, those that may be getting old and you're unable to care for yourself, and then it may be to where have become ill and you can no longer care for yourself. So we're going to talk about some most common ways in which a loss of independence might affect a person's life. So let's talk about it. There's a term that's called infantilization. Infantilization is IMFANTILIZATION. It's a long word. But infantilization means being treated like a child. Okay? And some people, hey, Julie, glad you could join. Thank you so much for joining. But infantilization is like being treated as a child. And it's not that uncommon for a person to feel infantilized when it is, or if they're suddenly dependent on other people. And depend, especially when you having to depend on your adult children to care for you. And a lot of times the adults, it's like you switching roles. Your adult children now like the parent, and you're like their child. So A lot of times uh, that doesn't sit well with most people when they feel like they're being treated as a child. When, okay, if it's I'm the mom and I don't want my daughter to treat me like she's my mother, that's how some people would take it. But when you look at it in that manner, the person who's been independent for decades might suddenly have to be justified or have to justify their behavior or choices to their parents or their adult children, or need to rely on them for personal care. So when you start looking at Tom is spelled INFANTILIZATION. Infantilization. That's a long word, and that basically means being treated like a child. Okay, so but yeah, if you need more further, girl, you know how to hit me up. Just text me and I will spell it for you again. But once again, it's that person who's been independent for decades and for most of your life. Yeah, that's especially when you became an adult. You might suddenly feel like you have to justify the behavior or choices of their parents or their adult children, and now you need to rely on them for your personal care, and it happens. It happens. And such, they are no longer as capable of seen as capable adults. That means you're unable to care for yourself now. And they are viewed as having reverted to a juvenile state. And there's sometimes some people, depending on the circumstances, especially when that parent has developed Alzheimer's or dementia, and they have actually revert back to in a juvenile state. And so there are times when those adult children who's caring for them will have to step in that motherly or fatherly role to care for their parents. And so, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you care for them in respect. Give them the respect that they deserve because they were once caring for you when you were a baby. They cared for you when you was an adolescent. They cared for you when you became a teenager. They even cared for you when you went through college, And some adults, when they got married, your parents were still caring for you, in that manner. So you still want to make sure if those roles are reversed, don't demise the parent and make them feel less than who they are. Respect them as who they are to you. Okay. So those who love them may try to go above and beyond to care for them and tend to their every need, and they're appreciative on that many level. But that being said, they won't appreciate being told what they should or shouldn't do. A lot of times, depending on how your parents are, you can't go straight forward and say, okay, now, mama, you need to do this, and this is what I say. You got to be careful because you still have to give them the respect of who they are. They're your mother, they're your father. So they may be asked, they not being asked to give permission to be touched or clean or fed. Sometimes be cautious of that because especially with Alzheimer's patients or persons in your family, if they aggress back and so, okay, don't touch me, don't bother me, you have to follow those signals and just be cautious of that. Yes, they've lost their independence. Yes, they are no longer able to care for themselves. But once again, give them the respect that they deserve. They may not even be asked what they want to eat, where, or so on. So, like I said, be cautious of how. Hey, Alicia, love you, girl. You have to be careful how you approach them. Once again, recognize who they are to you. This is mom. This is dad. This is grandma. This is auntie. So recognize who they are to you and recognize and give them the respect that they deserve, but also know how to care for them in a way that you can respect them as well. Now, this over attentiveness can extend beyond convalescence as well. So, for example, if a person is recovering from an illness or job loss, they may now be trying to get back on their feet, literally. So their caregiver, however, might not see them as fragile and will try to do everything for them. This may include forcibly taking things away from them and prevent them from making their own decisions. That you have to be careful. You have to be careful. You have to be careful. Even those that suffers from dementia, be cautious and know where they are in that illness, in that process, because you don't want to take everything away from them. If they're capable of doing some things, allow them to do that. Especially, don't pull everything away from them, and don't when it comes to the point where when you taking them to their physician's office and helping in a decision process, allow them to speak for themselves. Don't take, okay, this is what I want mama to do, this and this, and you don't let them say anything to their doctor. Allow them, if they're able to speak, allow them to speak. Allow them to be in the process of making their decision on about their health, especially when you know that they're capable of doing that. So, and now this is the worst part. This is the worst part. The one in recovery might be spoken to as though they are either a child or mentally impaired. Those who have previously spoken with courtesy and respect now address them with the same cadence and phrase that would use as a toddler. In other words, hey, saying, in other words, don't treat them like, don't treat your 70-year-old mother just like she's 5. Don't treat your 80-year-old grandmother just like she's 10. You know, if you see where the mindset is to the point where they can't really speak and do anything for themselves, you'll recognize when that comes. But to the point to where if there's some independence that's still with them, allow them to utilize some independence that they have. Okay, now I want y'all to understand that, because it helps in the loss of, it's a process, and all of us at some point is going to go through this process, whether it be older, whether it be dementia, whether it be illness. All of us at some point is going to go through something to where we're going to have to depend on someone else to help us, unless God decides to take us on before that happened. But for the most part, this is what we look forward to, in a sense. Those of us, we look forward to getting older, and there's going to be times when our children are going to have to step in. Okay, so, but if you're able to allow your parent or your grandparent or your auntie, whoever you care for, to do some things on their own, and they're able to do things on their own, even if it's just a little minute thing, allow them to do that. Allow them to do that. Okay, so for an adult who has spent decades being independent, this is incredibly depressing. They will feel anger and resentful and being disrespected and treated like an infant, on top of their frustration with the struggles they're already dealing with. So don't let them, once again, don't have them feel even more smaller than they feel, because nobody wants to lose their independence. Nobody. I don't know anyone that wants to lose their independence. All of us, for the most part, want to be able to do things as long as we can, and however we can. I know that this lady, she's a former patient when I worked with the doctor when we worked on South Church Street. This lady is a member of the church that I attend, and she is, I want to say she is 106 years old. In her right mind, talk with you intelligently, still at some point live on her own. I think the daughter is like next door. And she just amazes me. And I bow down to her, because, she is just queen in my eye. And, still remembers me, still remember the doctor that cared for her. And that's an honor for me, because especially when she remembered me as her nurse for all those years, and I'm always at awe every time when I see her come to church. She walks with a cane, but she's 106, and so I'm just amazed at her. But she's still focused, and right, clear, and still in her right mind. So I would not dare, if she was my mother or grandmother, I would not dare belittle her down to a level as a child when she's able to conversate with me on an intelligent level. Not as a little baby, but we have a conversation. So you have to think about that. You have to think on, make sure wherever that person is in their life, and even to the point to where, because like I said, this particular lady is like 106 years old. She I think she stopped driving at 92. I remember that, and used to make me nervous about that. But she stopped driving because, okay, she's gotten older, so of course her license had to be taken away. They don't like that. The older does hate when you take that type of independence away from them. But when it comes to cognitive and making sure that they're going to be okay, certain things would have to be, they'll be okay. Certain things will have to be taken away from them, such as driving privileges, So, talking to this lady, of course, she didn't like that part, but she accepted that, okay? But yeah, you just wherever they are in their lives, So be cautious and go with them and don't belittle them, don't make them smaller in a way to where they can't think for themselves. So let's talk about some more loss of their sense of self, loss of their sense of self, and this is a person who has based their sense of self on their capabilities and their achievements. They might feel lost when their independent falters, okay, and they may feel lost, and so who's gonna like for instance, if you are a runner and you an avid runner, and if you can't no longer run, or if you are have practiced law and you're a lawyer and you can no longer practice law, even and I'm a nurse by vocation, and I'm still semi-retired, but if I can no longer just practice nursing simply because of an illness or my age, and I know that at some point it's going to get to that, but nobody wants that to be taken away, so and you lose your sense of who you are. Okay, so if your life thus far has been based on your identity, but now your identity has shifted into something completely different, then who are you really? And a lot of times, when you see that you can no longer do the things that you need, that you once was able to do, even sudden illnesses can happen. Surgery can cause you to revert back to where I can no longer do the things that I did once before my surgery. Uh, I can no longer work the hours that I used to work because of something that has happened to me. Um, I get amazed that some people that I have a great nephew that he was in a tragic accident in the service, and we were thinking that he would not be able to have children or be able to do the things that he would need to do. Of course, he got an honorable discharge from the armed service because of that, the accident that happened while he was in service. But he's married, has a beautiful little girl, and he's able to do some things, that he thought he would not be able to do. So, but at the moment of his young life, he lost some independence, and so a lot of times when you lose that, you regret to the depression part, and oh woe is me, and you begin to feel pity to what, because you're unable to do the things, especially when you're young. You're unable to do the things that you once did, and it also make your mind go to the point where am I gonna be able to do anything? Especially when I'm in my 20s. He's in his 20s. Hey, Juanita, he's in his 20s, and so a 20-plus-year-old, you wouldn't think that would have a problem with not being able to do certain things like working, or not being able to get married or have children. That is devastating for a 20-plus-year-old. But God stepped in and brought light to him, to where, like I say, he's married with a beautiful little girl, and everything. And life is good. Life is good. So even in that state, we would not tell him, okay, you're going to be okay. God's got you. You just got to learn how to do without. Be careful how you handle people, because people, a 20-plus-year would not want to hear, you're going to be all right. God's got you. Well, you got to learn something different. Then they don't want to hear that. They want to hear something that's going to be positive for them, and not to put them in a depressed state. I hope you guys are following me on this. I won't want anybody to tell me. I would want people to be more positive for me and say, well, you know what? Let's see what you're able to do. Let's see what you're able to handle. You may not be able to do this particular job that you once did, but let's just see what else you can do. There's a way you can handle that. We're still talking about the loss of independence, okay? So there's ways you can handle in talking to people and don't belittle them. So right now we're at the loss of the sense of yourself. So trying to figure out who you are. Trying to figure out who you are after spending years living comfortably in your perception of yourself can be terrifying. So your personal foundation has dropped out from below your feet. So you're going to have to find entirely new grounds to stand upon. And that's what I'm saying. So even though you might not be able to do what you once did, but you can find new ground to stand on. Yeah, listen what I'm saying. You don't, and once again, don't put yourself in a woe is me. Don't put yourself in a war. Say, there you go, Tom. Encourage you. If it happens to you, encourage yourself. And say, I'm better. I can do this. I know I may not be able to do that, but I can do this. So you have to encourage yourself and progress on instead of going to a pity party pit. And say, okay, I'm not able to do what I once did, but God, show me what I'm able to do because I want to keep moving. Okay, so you're going to have to find and talent new ground, just like I said before, in your social life, your values, your relationship, and the other things. You just have to find something different. Okay, now also on that time, okay, some people have the feelings of worthlessness. Some people just feel like they're not worthy of it. That's why people even get to the point where they get so down and depressed, they even think of thoughts of suicide, and they get so down and get low. So, those feelings of worthlessness. So, simply to the point that I've mentioned earlier, a person whose self-esteem has been tied in with their achievements, what they did was all about who they were. And all of a sudden, they're no longer at that place. So, that they're tied with their achievements will often feel worthless because they can no longer do or able to get and keep achieving what they were doing. Once again, it's called, okay, let me try something else. At some point, all of us is going to get to a point to where we're not going to be able to do all the things that we once did. I can't do the things that I did when I was, that I did in my 20s and I'm in my 60s. I can't go back to what I did in my 20s because once again, I'm older, body's older, thought process is older. So I can't do the things that I did in my 20s or 30s or 40s. So you have to do what you're able to do. That doesn't mean that you put yourself and bury yourself in a corner somewhere and cry but there's some things that you can do. Okay? Like for example, like a cyclist or triathlete may be devastated at the thought of not being able to compete in the sport that they love anymore. But they feel that they're now too old or broken to embarrass themselves by competing against people that are younger, even younger than their children. But they now trying to figure out who they are, okay, and what they want to be. And one of the biggest decade-long support pillars torn out from under them. So they're trying to figure out what they can do, and they're trying to wrestle with, okay, now I can't do those things. And you said, so I ain't letting no grass grow under my feet. My family think I do too much because I am 70. As long as God keeps me, girl, you keep doing what you're doing. I like that, Ann. You keep doing what you're doing. Because nobody knows how it makes you feel. And if it makes you feel good to keep doing what you're doing in 70, and you look good for your age too, you keep doing what you're doing because it helps sustain you. It's not to the point, now, I'm not trying to be funny. You're not trying to please other people. It's something that you want to do. Okay? It's all about what you want to do. And if God is allowing you to continue to do those things and give you the strength, the ability to do it, go for it. And I'm a firm believer that it's not, once again, I'm not trying to please anyone else. It's that this is what I want to do, okay, for me. And that keeps people living longer, prosperous, and doing the things that they don't have to feel weighted down to where people have to do things for them. Okay, so I like that, and I like that. Okay, others on how to deal with the loss of independence. Let's talk about that. How to deal with the loss of independence. So, and there are a number of different ways. There are a number of different ways that you can deal with these situations, the loss of independence. Though they will depend. No pun intended. They will depend on your own individual circumstance. So, for instance, temporary dependence on your family due to financial constraints will be very different from having to depend on your spouse or your partner because your body isn't functioning properly. And there's a lot of times people have to depend on family members, their children, even siblings, if you're in a financial strain. That does happen. I'm just being real. That does happen. But let's talk about, here's some things we can do. We can some ways that we can deal with this. So Number one, ways we can deal with this is to try to cultivate a great sense of humor. You probably thinking, what in the world? Well, think about it. Try to cultivate a great sense of humor. Okay? You will have days in which you'll feel like your own physical form is betraying you or feels frustrated by your financial dependence on someone else. This is why it's absolutely vital to cultivate a good sense of humor. What do I mean by that? If you can approach everything that's happening with a joke or patience, rather than frustration and anger, you may find it significantly easier to bundle. Some things you have to laugh at. Oh, I used to be able to buy this dress, and now I'm unable to do that. But oh well, I guess I'm gonna have to go to the Goodwill store and maybe find something there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Goodwill store has some nice bargains. So sometimes you have to do things in a sense of humor. And you may not be able to go to the dealers anymore, or the Belk, or the J.C. Penney. But Goodwill has some nice stuff, and you can find things there and get that thing clean, and you can't even tell where you purchased it from. It's all in how you wear it. Okay? So, make it a good sense of humor. Good sense of humor. And have you had the choice between laughing at an unfortunate circumstance or getting upset and embarrassed by it? Have anybody got to a point to where either I laugh about it, or I cry about it, or I'm embarrassed by it? When we get upset or angry over a misstep or something we can't control? Has that ever happened to you? Sure. Yeah. We intensify the negative associated with it. We at one time or another we've been there, that we felt embarrassed that we weren't able to do certain things. Yeah. But in contrast, when we can laugh on how utterly ridiculous it all is, tensions will alleviate, and things will be better when you laugh about it. Like, okay, I'm not gonna let it bother. In other words, don't let it bother you. Sometimes you have to laugh at yourself. Have you ever laughed at yourself? Yeah, laugh at yourself and move on from it. Okay? You can't cry, as I said, you can't cry over spilled milk. Don't cry over it. Just keep it moving. And any embarrassing moment that may happen, sometimes when you look back, because there's been some embarrassing moment in my life, when I turn back and I look back, I say, you know what, Teresa, I can laugh about it now, because it didn't stay buried in me to where it filtered, and it caused me to just really get sad about it. So, hey, Reagan, thank you, son, for joining us. But yeah, some things, you can laugh at, and even especially as we get older, things that we try to do things because we think that we are young like we used to be, and we know we can't do it. Like, okay, I enjoy dancing when I get a chance to dance, but I can't dance like I danced back when I was 20. Okay? But I do whatever I need to do when I'm enjoying the dance. And sometimes I can look at myself, I can laugh at myself, it's okay, and remind myself I'm not that young person anymore. Okay? So, yeah, a sense of humor. I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to try to end this. I'm going to do one more. Be kind to yourself. The next one is be kind. Be kind to yourself. And it's easy to beat yourself self up for perceived shortcomings. That's easy. Okay. Even if we find ourselves dependent upon others due to circumstances that are completely out of our control, we still punish ourselves for feeling like a burden. And we do. Because, and even now, even if we still have our sense of independence, if we find ourselves to rely on others for certain things, we still feel like that we are burdened. Just like for those that may, like, when I had surgical procedures, I had to depend on my husband or my children, and sometimes you feel like that you're a burden to them. Well, that happens, and we should shake that, because if we in a place to where we have to be dependent on someone else to care for us, allow them to care for us. Okay, that doesn't mean that we don't stay in the bed all the time, or we don't stay in the house all the time. you know, and when we're able to get out the house, and we're able to move about, we're able to do the things that we once did. And once we're able to do that, let's do that, you know. But there are times in our lives that we have felt like we've been a burden to our family. And it seems people will, with irritable bowel syndrome, like for instance, it's like those folks that has that IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. They hit themselves in the belly, and because their stomach don't do what they supposed to do, what it's supposed to do, and the colon don't do what it's supposed to do. Yeah, you know, it's that type of feel, you know. And but you have to understand that there are times when we can smack ourselves and say, okay, shake this off. You know, shake this off. I don't have to keep beating myself up on things that I'm unable to do at the time. If I need the help, then I need the help. But I'm not gonna beat up on myself because I'm unable to do certain things. It's called take a look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, I'm unable to do all the things that I once did, but God allowed me to do some things that I'm able to do. So have I lost some independence in certain things? Of course I have. But I haven't lost independence of everything. So if we got children, basically your children, if they're able to care for us in certain ways, allow them to. Why? Because they feel like that they need to do this for their parents because we've taken care of them. So and allow them to. Don't be like one of those, baby, you go ahead and keep that. I don't need it. If they want to bless you in a way, allow your children to bless you in that way. But be kind to yourself and don't beat yourself up. Okay? Don't beat yourself up. I'm gonna do one more. I'm looking at the time and I'm running out of time. The last one is practice acceptance and gratitude. Practice acceptance and gratitude. And most of the frustration that we and anxieties that comes from the loss of independence have to do with wanting something that can't be obtained rather than accepting what is. In other words, and I need to read that again. Most of our frustration and anxiety that come from our loss of independence have to do with wanting something that we cannot get rather than accept what is. Okay? And one great way to alleviate the difficulties you're dealing with is to lean into it rather than fight it. Okay? So in other words, if I know I'm unable, I love outside. I love walking outside. I enjoy that. I enjoy that. I wish I could run. I can't. Okay? So because I can't run anymore, I can walk briskly. You know, I can't walk real fast, but you know, I can walk briskly. And so I'm going to accept with gratitude what I'm able to do. As the saying goes, I got legs, but there's some people that don't have legs that they're able to walk. Okay? So if I'm able to at least move half my being, then I would do what I need to do. So I want to be grateful. So I want to be able to accept what I'm unable to do, but I want to do that with gratitude. Okay, so I'm able to walk and enjoy the Lord's creation when I walk. I can't run, but I can move. Hope y'all get that. Hope y'all get that. So you can race around town and run your own errands, and that means you can if you can't do the things that you normally do. In other words, for those who's unable to walk, who's unable to get up and run, well, instead of you being able to do that, find you a nice little cozy corner on your couch and just enjoy a good book. Why I say that? Because God has allowed you to live. You know, and I talk to these people who has had amputation of their limbs, their legs. God has allowed you to live. Even with that, you're able to do something. You can sit back and you can relax, and you can enjoy with gratitude and acceptance. Is it a hard pill to swallow because something has happened to you in that fashion, such as amputation? Yes, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. I don't know what you're going through because I'm still walking with all four limbs, but and holding my hands up. But God has allowed you to live, so you're able to do something, you know, and to enjoy the rest of your life. I want you to get there. I want you to get there. That, somehow some people say there's a silver line, and in every situation, and if it doesn't feel that way, sometime at the moment, just think about God has allowed you to live. So accept and embrace that, so you can find your happiness and enjoy yourself whenever possible. I promise you. Instead of you walling in pity, rejoice and be grateful. Guys, 2:35, and this is a lot that I have, but I can't put it all in 30 minutes. But I appreciate you guys very much. If you don't find anything else for some of the things that we talked about, acceptance and gratitude, be kind to yourself, and try to cultivate a great sense of humor. If you don't remember anything, remember those points. Have a good sense of humor, and be kind to who God has allowed you to be. The circumstance that has changed in your life to where you can no longer do the things that you once did, but God has allowed you to stay here a little while longer. And I'm a firm believer that if you're still here, you still got work to do for God. Uh, purpose yourself to be practice acceptance and gratitude, and be grateful to God. Change your attitude to graciousness, to gratitude to God, because He has allowed us to still be here. So embrace your loss of certain things, your dependence, where you can find something else that you can lean and depend on. Uh, so I appreciate you joining me. And next week, I'm not sure what God is going to give me to talk about next week, but I'm thankful that He has allowed me to talk about the process that we talked about, the sickness, the financial strain, this loss of independence, grief, those topics that we have discussed, has brought me to this point of closing. I'm talking about the process. So God is going to give me something. I can't wait to what it is that He's going to give me. Thursday, Bible study will be the conclusion of Psalm 95 on Thursday at 4 o'clock. If you don't mind joining my husband, Dr. Larry Black, Bible study moment, 4 o'clock on this Thursday. It's been a great lesson. Great lessons out of the Psalm, and he's going to conclude Psalm 95. So I pray that you'll be able to join us at 4 o'clock on this Thursday. Please, if you don't mind, share this particular segment of Tuesday Talk on your personal Facebook page so others can understand why we do the things that we do. Thank you so much for following us on Tuesday Talk with T, and as far as following us is devoted to Him. Please tell your friends. We just enjoy doing what we love to do for God. If it was not for Him, we wouldn't be able to do all the things that we do. So we love God, and we're grateful that He allowed us to be His vessel, His true vessel, as well as you guys as well. We're going to pray, and once again, we hope and pray that you guys have voted. Still got a few hours left. If you haven't, please exercise your voice by voting today. God, we thank you so much. We thank you for this time that you have allowed us to share. Thank you for these who did not find it robbery to jump on board to listen to our topic on today about the loss of independence. God, we thank you that we can always lean and depend on you. For that, we're just so grateful. So we pray that this lesson, this segment, will help someone out there. If it's not them, maybe loved ones that they're caring for. We pray that it would help them throughout their life. God, to help them to understand that we have to change our attitude to a gracious, to a gratitude, that we're grateful to who you have been and who you are still in our lives. Now, God, we just ask you to bless us throughout the rest of this day. We ask you to bless those who are still out in this weather voting. God, we ask you to bless all poll workers there, God. We ask you to bless even the candidates. Bless this entire world and this nation as a whole. God, we love you. We honor you. We thank you so much always for being the center of our joy and the joy of our strength. God, it is in Jesus' name we do pray. Amen. You guys be blessed. Thank you so much.